which will return in 1 minute. The Wells Report returns in 30 seconds. North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. Good morning. My name is John David Wells. What do you find on this broadcast? You find the news reported honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. We make commentary. That's not news. That's opinion, both yours and mine. And so we debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. As we come to our broadcast today, scenes of flames and death, but not nearly as much death as you might expect. That is a Japanese Airlines Airbus A350 that collided with a Japanese Coast Guard airplane earlier this morning. And that is the aftermath. We've got lots more coverage on that coming up in just a couple of seconds as we bring you the news this morning. And we do that the same way every single time. Time now for the front page, a news digest. Since we were on the air last time, which was about 10 days ago, and while we were asleep last night, getting back to that Japanese airliner crash. This from Reuters News Service. All 379 passengers and crew of a Japanese Airlines plane miraculously escaped that conflagration this morning, a fire following a collision with a Coast Guard aircraft at Tokyo's Haneda Airport this morning. 5 of the 6 crew of the Coast Guard plane were unfortunately killed. The Coast Guard said the collision involved one of its planes that was headed to Niigata Airport on Japan's west coast to deliver aid to those caught up in a powerful earthquake that struck on New Year's Day, killing at least 48 people. Quote, "I felt a boom like we had hit something and jerked upward at the moment we landed," a passenger on the Japanese Airlines flight told the Kyodo News Agency. "I saw sparks outside the window and the cabin filled with gas and smoke." There was live footage, as you just saw, from NHK that showed Japanese Airlines Flight 9201 Airbus A350 aircraft bursting into flames as it skidded down the tarmac shortly before 6 p.m. We've got that video. We'll show it to you here in a minute. Japan's Transport Minister Tetsuo Saito confirmed that all 5 of the Coast Guard aircraft's crew had died. The captain of the aircraft had managed to escape. NHK, citing the Tokyo Fire Department, said at least 17 people were evacuated from the passenger plane and they were injured. Elsewhere in international news, hypersonic missiles have hit both Kiev and Kharkiv. This from USA Today. Ukraine's 2 largest cities came under attack from Russian hypersonic ballistic missiles. That happened this morning, killing at least 4 people, injuring almost 100, said the officials. As the war approached its 2-year milestone and Kremlin forces stepped up their winter bombardment of urban areas. Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky said on his Telegram channel that 4 civilians were killed, 92 injured in the capital of Kiev, and in northeastern Kharkiv as hypersonic Kinzhal missiles that can fly up to 10 times the speed of sound slammed into city blocks. Since Sunday, Zelensky said yesterday, or day before yesterday, the Kremlin's forces have launched about 170 Shahed drones and dozens of missiles of various types against Ukrainian targets. Most were aimed at civilian areas, according to Ukraine news officials. South Korea's opposition leader, Lee Jae-myung, was stabbed in the neck this morning during a visit to the southern part of Busan, Lee, the chief of the main opposition Democrat Party, is conscious and was airlifted to the Pusan National University Hospital. This, a party official and fire department official told Reuters. He was attacked by an unidentified man during a tour of the site of a proposed airport, according to the news agency Yonhap. The attack left a gash in Lee's neck about a centimeter long, this according to YTN television. The suspected attacker appeared to be a man in his 50s or 60s who wore a paper crown with Lee's name printed on it, according to news photographs. He approached Lee asking for an autograph among a crowd of supporters before he lunged forward and attacked, as according to video footage. The assailant was quickly subdued and arrested at the scene. There is an Epstein list, and apparently it's going to be released. It could be released today. Fox News reports former President Bill Clinton is going to be identified as one of several John Does in previously redacted documents related to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. This being reported by ABC News. Fox News' Alexandria Hoff reported yesterday that Clinton is not the only big name expected to be released. There are more than 150 individuals identified only as John or Jane Does, but the legal masking is about to come off, said correspondent Hoff yesterday on Fox and Friends. Last month, a federal judge in New York ordered the unsealing of dozens of documents that name people linked to the late disgraced financier. The Manhattan federal judge ruled that there was no justification to continue to have documents sealed on a settled case involving an Epstein accuser, said Hoff. The documents are expected to be unredacted and released as early as today. Among those named, former President Bill Clinton, according to ABC News. In sports, the college football national championship game is set. This from CNN. Washington never trailed in the first half of their second semifinal, taking the lead on 3 separate occasions. But Texas had an answer for every score. Both teams entered halftime tied at 21-21. Led by the nation's leading passer quarterback Michael Penix Jr., the Huskies scored 13 unanswered points in the second half, held off a late Longhorn rally to seal the nail-biting victory at the Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. Down by 6 points with under 1 minute left in the fourth quarter, Longhorns quarterback Quinn Ewers drove the offense into the red zone, but his 4th and 11 pass attempt failed incomplete as the game's last play. The Michigan Wolverines and Washington Huskies have both advanced to the college football playoff national game. They're going to face off in Houston. This happens January 8th, next Monday, as the title game unfolds. In the semifinals, number 1 Michigan edged number 4 Alabama in overtime, 27-20 in the Rose Bowl. It was a hard-fought affair. Michigan and Alabama found themselves tied 20-20 after regulation, forcing the contest known as the granddaddy of them all, according to the late, great Keith Jackson. It went into overtime for just the second time in the game's illustrious history. Elsewhere in school news, Flint, Michigan has banned cell phones at schools. This from USA Today. In Flint, Michigan, students will return to class after their winter break with a new rule in place. Their cell phones and their hoodies will be banned from school, largely in the name of safety. Quote, when we think about our test scores, when we think about all the things that surround the hurt and pain that our scholars are feeling, cell phones are a big deal. This, according to Superintendent Kevlin Jones II. This ahead of the Flint School Board's December 13th vote. It's a big part of bullying. It's a big part of the reason why our scholars are not on task in class. The move is part of a growing and familiar trend. Such bans, which have been around with fluctuating popularity since the devices first cropped up, are back in the U.S. and around the world. Guidance recommending a ban took effect in England this last October, following the establishment of similar policies in recent years in both Finland and France. A new rule in the Netherlands is set to go live later this month. There is news for Social Security holders. Recipients will get a 3.2% increase in 2024, being reported by USA Today. Social Security recipients are getting a raise. More than 71 million Americans will see a 3.2% increase in their Social Security checks in 2024. That increase, which adds more than $50 a month on average, will hit some checks on Friday of next week and will continue this month throughout the year. The raise is due to a cost of living adjustment that the Social Security Administration said will help recipients keep up with expenses. It's the third year in a row that inflation has prompted an increase in benefit payments, though the previous 2 years the increases were larger, an historic 8.7% increase in 2023 and a 5.9% increase in 2022. The High Court is in the news. Chief Justice John Roberts is predicting an impact of artificial intelligence on the High Court. This from USA Today. Federal courts are exploring how to use artificial intelligence. Chief Justice John Roberts said in an annual report over the weekend he touted the technology's promise, but warned of its limitations. Roberts also avoided any mention of the ethics lapses that have been reported as a central issue for the court over the past year. He went on to talk about AI by saying, quote, machines cannot fully replace humans in the courtroom, Roberts wrote in his year-end report, citing the human nuance required when judges measure the sincerity of a defendant's remorse. Much can turn on a shaking hand, a quivering voice, a change of inflection, a bead of sweat, a moment of hesitation, a fleeting break in eye contact. But Roberts said federal courts will likely need to embrace the technology for other tasks, just as judges eventually came to rely on computers instead of quill pens and copy machines instead of carbon copies. Courts are not alone in wrestling with how to reliably embrace artificial intelligence, and some of the questions created by the technology are likely bound for Supreme Court review. The New York Times sued OpenAI and Microsoft this month, for instance, asserting the companies violated copyright law by using the newspaper's content to train its artificial intelligent chatbots in a case that could reach the high court. Democrat Jamie Raskin, he is a Democrat from Maryland, is calling for Justice Thomas to recuse himself over Trump cases. This being reported by USA Today, as some states fight to keep former President Donald Trump off the ballot in 2024. And cases head to the U.S. Supreme Court. Representative Jamie Raskin, the Democrat from Maryland, wants one of the longest-serving justices to recuse himself from a potential ruling. Justice Clarence Thomas should recuse himself because his wife, Ginny Thomas, quote, was involved in the big lie, according to Raskin, who spoke about the issue on CNN's State of the Union last Sunday with Jake Tapper and Dana Bash. Thomas sent out dozens of text messages after the 2020 election to Mark Meadows, Trump's former chief of staff, urging him to fight the results. In late September of 2022, she told a congressional committee investigating the January 6th attack on the Capitol she regretted those texts that were sent at an emotional time and would take them all back if she could. Though Thomas told the panel she still thought there were election irregularities, she did believe that Joe Biden was the president of the United States. And finally, this morning, a man used bear spray to fend off carjackers. This from USA Today. A Washington state man used bear spray to fend off two attackers who attempted to carjack his elderly mother today, bringing an end to a crime spree that included multiple carjackings and police chases, according to police. One of the suspects tried taking the elderly lady out of the driver's seat, but the woman made it hard for him to close the door. Her son, who was parked next to her, came around and sprayed bear mace in the guy's face. The woman's son told KOMO News he tried to stop the suspect by spraying him in the face with bear spray, but initially it didn't seem to faze the man. After it didn't work, the suspect got inside the victim's car, but was unable to drive away because the victim had keys in her pocket. This, according to investigators. His face was all red and he was crying, the man told KOMO News. His girlfriend then asked me what I sprayed him with. So I sprayed her in the face, too. They got to keep the car. See, what you need is a good man with bear spray. It's always better than a bad man with bear spray. This is the Wells Report. Good morning. My name is John David Wells. We are going to cover that crash from Tokyo today. There is amazing video. We're going to bring some of that to you as we are amazed also that every passenger on the big airliner, the Airbus A350, were able to escape those flames and fire. It was truly an amazing stroke of either good planning for safety, etc., or just plain luck. but those people got off. It wasn't so close. It wasn't so good, rather, for the Coast Guard airplane from Japan's Coast Guard. We'll talk to you more about that in just a couple of minutes as we continue here on the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Good morning. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. I used to think that Tucker Carlson had the worst laugh on American television. That was before I saw this piece of tape from the Times Square New Year's Eve celebration involving CNN's Anderson Cooper and musician John Mayer. Apparently, there is a little bit of champagne that is imbibed before the ball drops in New York, because it appears as though Anderson Cooper had all he needed. As a matter of fact, he flat lost it. This is how it looked over the weekend, or over the weekend when Anderson Cooper got to speak with John Mayer.
Okay, a sneak peek at 2024 from one of my all-time favorite guitarists and singers who is currently performing in Japan. Happens to be a dear friend of mine. We are joined by John Mayer at a cat cafe in Tokyo. John, this doesn't look sanitary, John. John.
It's, you know what? I believe it
cats
passes all health codes. I think it's just fine. Yes, we are at a cat bar. It's called Cats in the Box in Tokyo, celebrating New Year's. We're already halfway through the first day of 2024.
John.
I'm here
So,
with
John,
Shin and
just-
5 other proprietors of the bar.
Talk to me about this bar. You're in the bar, and there are cats
Yes.
everywhere. They are licking each other.
There are cats.
Yes.
Yes, this is
This
is a place you can come, enjoy a drink or two, and talk to cats. It's a cat bar. I mean, I don't know how much more clear I can be about the objective of this place.
John, you are in Tokyo,
I can't see
Japan.
Anderson, but I know exactly what he looks like.
Yes, you
I'm in
do.
Tokyo.
Yes, you do. He's gone. He's off with the fairies here.
Yeah, an unfortunate choice of words there, but on the other hand, the tittering of Anderson Cooper regarding the cat bar, I thought it was absolutely brilliant just how deadpan and straightforward John Mayer was. I didn't realize he had such good comedy chops. He not only a great musician, but he also is somebody that can issue a joke. I thought you'd like to see that insofar as from time to time when you're on a broadcasting assignment, very, very funny things happen. And you find yourself in a position where you literally can't stand it. And when that happens, you do the best you can to try to regain your composure. This was something that Anderson Cooper obviously could not make happen. And so it's one of those things, and I certainly hope that Anderson Cooper is okay and he's recovered. But it's one of those things where, when you're in a position where you're doing New Year's Eve, there is a temptation to, have a little bit of libation. There's every now and then somebody comes by and hands you a glass of champagne. You sit there and go, "Thanks very much. That's really nice," and take a little sip and so on and so on, until eventually you're actually drinking the champagne or whatever else they're handing you, until you find yourself in a position where you can be chemically injured in the midst of your broadcast. Now, I am happy to say that has never happened to me, although there have been people who tried. What they did not know was that before this particular New Year's Eve celebration, I'd made a deal with the bartender to provide me, instead of scotch, apple juice on the rocks in a bucket. And so these guys were trying to get me drunk, and the bartender was taking really good care of me, and I was enjoying my Mott's apple juice. And these guys were falling down at the end of the set. "Man, you can sure tell your liquor, can't you?" "Yeah, I sure can. Yeah, I sure can." So what you do is you plan ahead, and obviously, and Anderson Cooper didn't. And so just one of those things where it's always good to have just a little bit of experience working for you. This is the Wells Report. Back with more in a moment.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Good morning. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Tuesday in progress, the second day of January 2024. This is the first broadcast of this year on the Wells Report. Hopefully they're going to be like 300 and some as we get through this year, bringing you the news fairly and truthfully, and also analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Fox News reports that a thick plume of black smoke rose over an airport runway in Japan. This happened on Tuesday this morning, actually. Early this morning. It was in the afternoon there. And what was amazing about this was that it wasn't an epic tragedy of almost incalculable proportions. What had ended up happening is that there was a Japanese airliner that had crashed into a Japanese Coast Guard airplane. And this is how Fox News reports it. A thick plume of black smoke rose over an airport runway in Japan. This happened this morning after a Japanese aircraft collided with a Coast Guard aircraft and burst into flames, according to local media. Live footage on public broadcaster NHK showed Japan Airlines passenger plane JAL 516 on a runway at Tokyo's Haneda Airport with flames coming out of its windows. It was horrific, actually. The actual pictures almost defy description as the aircraft touched down on the runway, hitting the Coast Guard aircraft and then bursting into flames and then skidding all the way down the runway. The Coast Guard aircraft pilot escaped, but 5 of his crew were killed, this according to NHK. An official confirmed that a Bombardier Dash 8 Coast Guard airplane was involved in the collision. A Japanese airline spokesperson said that more than 300 passengers were on board when the aircraft initially caught fire. NHK reported all 379 passengers, 379 were able to get off the aircraft. And this after further reports that there were issues. I'm sorry, I'm resetting my computer. That there were further reports that some of the actual entrances and exits in the aircraft were non-functional. This is one of those things that you hope is more commonplace as time goes by. That more and more people are able to get out of aircraft that have crashed, especially big, gigantic passenger jets like this Airbus A350. So what ended up happening was several emergency vehicles responded to the fire utilizing water and foam. The flames had spread across too much of the airplane. The aircraft had flown out of Shin Chitose Airport in Japan to Haneda. Haneda is one of the busiest airports in Japan, and this was one of those crashes that, you know, give every airline pilot and passenger just nightmares. I mean, this was one of those things where somebody was in the wrong place. They still haven't figured out exactly what happened, whether it was the Japanese Airlines flight that was in the wrong place, which I doubt. But then again, can you also doubt the crew of the Japanese Coast Guard aircraft? Probably not. So just exactly what happened, we don't know, but the Japanese version of the National Transportation Safety Board will certainly be able to work that out, and we'll find out at some point just exactly what happened. I have some video here, and I'm trying to play it for you. It's been kind of a challenge this morning as we've been working our way through bringing you this broadcast. But let me see what I can do about giving you some of this. Here is the first bit. Okay, there we go. All right, hold on. Let me get this back. All right, there we go. All right, I hit the wrong button, so I'm going to hit the correct button. Now, this is the actual beginning of the crash. This is where the aircraft went over the landing threshold and clipped the Coast Guard aircraft. Look at this. Okay, so that's another malfunction. So I get to spend some quality time with with Apple Care today about my Apple Mini, which for whatever reason has decided that it just doesn't want to do what I want it to do, which is truly annoying, especially on this broadcast, because we try to do things pretty well here. We've got a pretty sophisticated broadcast, and that we have a little trouble with our other players. In this case, several computers attend this broadcast, And when they don't work as well as I'd like them to, then that's kind of a problem. And it all centers around playing video on a Mac Mini. And we're still trying to figure out what it's going to take to be able to get this to work a little bit better. Meantime, back to the coverage. There are live updates. This from 7 minutes ago. Japanese airline passenger Shitoshi Yamake, he's 59 years old, told CNN that everything seemed completely normal during the landing until he saw a fire. We'd landed normally. He did not feel a shock or anything, but other passengers did feel kind of a weird rise in a collision. Yamaki told CNN at Haneda Airport after he was evacuated from the fiery crash, he saw a fire shortly before an announcement was made to evacuate the aircraft. But then we saw fire coming out of the engines, and I found it strange. Just as I was thinking, why was the fire burning for so long? An announcement came. We probably hit something on the runway, and we now have to evacuate the airplane. We could smell smoke, but passengers were not panicking a lot. I was not really scared. We'd landed already. I was thinking about the plane probably won't explode at this point. We should be fine as long as everybody gets off the plane in an orderly manner. And that is exactly what happened. We were talking about the impending investigation. Japanese Airlines is taking part in the investigation to determine who's responsible for the deadly crash. Tadayuki Tsutsumi, the airline's senior vice president of corporate safety and security, said in a news conference a little earlier today, while the investigation is ongoing, preliminary reports are the pilots of the Japanese airline flight did not spot any aircraft on the runway before landing. The Japanese Airlines flight was confirmed to have entered the runway as normal, began landing as normal. There was an impact, which led to the accident, but we are still investigating for further details. Senior Vice President of Japanese Airlines, Noriyuki Aoki, reiterated that it is unclear at this point in the investigation if the Japan's airline flight was cleared to land or if they had communicated with air traffic control, according to the news conference yesterday evening. I'm sure they had done both. However, I can't say at this time if the Japanese Airlines aircraft, were cleared to land or if they had communicated with ATC, because that is a fundamental factor in the cause of the accident. We're still trying to confirm that. There were 4 passengers of 17 that were injured in the crash. They have been transported to the airport. At least 5 people on a Japan Coast Guard airplane were killed when it collided with a Japanese Airlines plane carrying hundreds of passengers, then burst into flames at Tokyo's Haneda Airport. Japanese Airlines said after the crash, 4 passengers who felt unwell were transported to hospitals, but the airline had not received any additional reports of injuries to the passengers on the flight. This, according to Senior Vice President of Japan's Airlines, Noriyuki Aoki, as we spoke about him before. He said in a news conference yesterday evening that Japan Airlines, the flight landed around 5:46 p.m. local time. The crash happened around the same time. We apologize for any inconvenience and concern this may have caused to our customers and all concerned. We pray for the rest of the souls of those who lost their lives aboard the Japan Coast Guard equipment and extend our condolences to their bereaved families. The airline is still confirming details with pilots on what they experienced before the crash. We will provide accompanying service to those who have come to Haneda to meet their families. By the way, that's not the only thing that's happening in Japan. There was an earthquake leaving widespread damage. This happened on New Year's. Damage is widespread across cities in Japan's Ishikawa prefecture. This after yesterday's 7.5 magnitude earthquake that rattled western Japan. Here are some of the areas impacted by the earthquake. This, according to CNN World News. Wajima City, Suzu City, Noto Airport, Kanazawa City, Nanao City, Shika Town, Himi City, Niigata City, and Joetsu City. And those people are trying to crawl out of the rubble. That was an amazing earthquake as well. That was really tough to watch. As we saw that one thing after another, when it rains, it pours in Japan, and that is certainly what's happening. Regarding a little bit more about the 17 people that are injured in this crash, as I was going through some of the updates, and an earthquake update was inserted in there, which is okay. Let me see if I can find that one thing. Let's see, and they updated it. There was this one story that now I can't find, but let's talk a little bit more about the earthquake. Japan's cabinet secretary Yoshimasa Hayashi said there were still 120 people waiting to be rescued following a 7.5 magnitude earthquake that struck Japan yesterday. Hayashi said the government's priorities was to save lives, reminding residents to be alert for aftershocks. To the people that live in areas where the shake was strong, please look out for evacuation information through their local offices, on TV, radio, and internet, and take action accordingly. As of 11 a.m. local time, there were 955 evacuation centers open across the Ishikawa and Niigata prefectures, and 57,360 people had been evacuated. Remember, a 7.5 magnitude earthquake struck central Japan Monday afternoon, collapsing buildings, causing fires, triggering tsunami alerts as far away as eastern Russia. This prompting orders for residents to evacuate the affected coastal areas of Japan. So this is a major earthquake according to the scale. It is they're commonly measured by magnitude, a scale on the amount of seismic energy released by the quake. On the magnitude scale, each increase of one whole number translates to 32 times more energy. And so a 7 to 7.9 earthquake, which is where this one was centered, damage expected. It is a major earthquake. There is one stage above that is 8.0 and above. Significant damage expected. Those are called great earthquakes. 48 people were confirmed as dead this morning, according to a spokesperson for Ishikawa Prefecture, confirming to CNN. And so that is the very latest on the earthquake. And, of course, the air crash, etc. Here on the Wells Report, as we were reported earlier, there were 17 passengers that were indeed injured in that crash, and we hope that they are recovering well, etc. The aircraft is JAL Flight 516, and those guys are pros. Japanese Airlines has a safety record that is the envy of every airline in the world except Qantas. Qantas has yet to have an aircraft crash. Japanese Airlines have had a much more tragic history than that. However, that being said, Japanese Airlines is one of the safest airlines that you can possibly find anywhere on the planet. And so I'm pretty sure that their crews, being incredibly well trained, probably did not have an issue, and I'm speculating here, did not have an issue with air traffic control. That's a heavy jet. In other words, those are the big jets that everybody keeps their eyes on, in not so much a greater degree, but a more careful one, as air traffic control handles traffic around a major airport. And I'm pretty sure that there were people in communication. I'm less sure about what was going on with a small bombardier jet that was being flown by the Japanese Coast Guard on an earthquake, the earthquake that we were talking about, on an earthquake relief mission. It may be that what had ended up happening is that somewhere in the tower, one of the air traffic controllers misplaced these small little plastic slotted devices they use to keep all the aircraft in sequence. He may have misplaced one of those or overlooked it or something, and moved an aircraft onto the runway for a takeoff ahead of the actual sequential event, ahead of that actually taking place. And so what ended up happening is that those two conversations, the one for air traffic control and the one for actual movement of traffic on the runway, are on two separate radio frequencies. In other words, they can't hear each other. And so it is very likely that someone actually moving the aircraft into position for takeoffs and landings, two people, they weren't working together. That would be my assumption. As we wake up first thing in the morning, we'll find out a little bit later on just exactly whether that was the case or not. All we can say is, for all those dead, God bless their memories and their families. For all those injured, rapid recovery, please. And for all of us here, stick around. We have more to discuss here on the Wells Report. Thanks very much for being a part of our broadcast. Our telephone number, 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. The first broadcast of 2024. This is the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning-fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Good morning and welcome to the first of the entire year's broadcasts of the Wells Report. This is the 2nd of January, year of our Lord, 2024. It's 2024. Want to say hi to Gary Olivier, Yvonne Field, and David Keith. Guys, thanks very much for being with us here in our chat room. You can join that chat room on Facebook, YouTube, X, Twitch, Rumble, and Patreon. So by all means, do that. I think we've been able to sort out maybe a little bit of our computer difficulty. I've got that video of the initial impact at the end of the runway on the Japanese Airlines flight that collided with a Japanese Coast Guard jet that was getting ready to take off, apparently. Let me give you that video as we continue here on the Wells Report. This is the actual original crash. You see the impact at the end of the runway. That is the Airbus A350 sliding down the runway. The flames are caused by the nose gear that is being scrubbed away after coming in contact with the Coast Guard jet. This is that perhaps is the Coast Guard jet at the end of the runway. That is a completely different look, but you can see that there is certain very, very, very intense blazes. This goes back to the Japanese Airlines flight, and these are people getting out. This was after they had already left the aircraft, but they were able to move through. However, the fire soon enveloped the entire aircraft, and that was pretty much that. Now, there is a report that we have for you from CNN, and let me see if I can get that one to you as well. This was yesterday's news on CNN talking about the fire and the crash.
The images are incredible. You can see the Airbus A350 burning there. But what is really poignant to me is the video from NHK where you see this Japan Airlines Flight 516 flight come into land on runway 34 left at Haneda Airport. This is very telling here because you can see the immediate aftermath of the nose gear on fire of this plane as it's decelerating down the runway. What we do not see is what is just out of frame on the right. We don't see the moment of collision with that Japanese Coast Guard Dash 8. That's a twin turboprop airline. We know that airplane. We know that 6 people were on board that plane. 5 of them are dead. The captain is in critical condition. Haneda Airport. This happened around 5:47 p.m. local time, about 3:47 a.m. here on the East Coast. As 4 runways, there are 2 parallel runways that go north and south. This was on runway 34 right, and then there are 2 other parallel runways that sort of buttress that on the north edge and the south edge of the airport. The real question here is who was in the wrong place at the wrong time? And the question that investigators will really look at is whether or not it was this Japan Airlines flight or whether it was the Japanese Coast Guard flight.
You could see right there that was a moment of the evacuation of the actual main cabin. And so everything worked the way it was supposed to work, which was extremely, it's heartening. For those of us who spend an awful lot of time on aircraft, that is a good thing to see, and we're glad they got off of the aircraft. Out of Israel, there are some things that came down over the weekend that we want to discuss with you. Benjamin Netanyahu said that this conflict may indeed last for the balance of 2024. The balance of 2024. Meanwhile, in the Gaza Strip, Israel strikes in central Gaza have killed at least 35 more people. This, according to hospital officials over the weekend. Remember, those hospital officials, for all intents and purposes, work for the Hamas Health Ministry. And the estimates coming out of those particular agencies are suspect or at least not confirmable. Fighting continues to rage across the tiny enclave after the Israeli prime minister said the war will continue for many more months, resisting international calls for a ceasefire. The military said Israeli forces were operating in Gaza's second largest city, which is Khan Yunis, and residents reported strikes in the central region, the latest focus of the nearly 3-month air-ground war that has raised fears of mass destruction across the region. U.S. military said over the weekend its forces shot and killed several Iran-backed Houthi rebels when they tried to attack a cargo ship in the Red Sea. This was an escalation in a maritime conflict linked to the war in Gaza. And an Israeli cabinet minister suggested encouraging Gaza's population to emigrate in remarks that could worsen tensions with Egypt and other friendly Arab states. Now, this is where you start getting into the interpretation of all of this. Why would an Israeli official saying that maybe Palestinians should find another place to live annoy both Egypt and other friendly Arab states, as they're written about here in this USA Today article? The reason is for what we have seen here in these United States. Palestinians come to our country and then begin to find all kinds of things wrong with it. Over the holiday season, Palestinians had problems with Christmas. Now Palestinians are creating problems for people trying to travel around the country for New Year's. And other friendly Arab nations like Egypt, etc., simply don't want that trouble in their countries. And neither do we. As I've said on this broadcast time and time again, I wish no misfortune on the Palestinian people. I just wish that my wishes for their fortune as opposed to misfortune was at least equaled by their own interests in fortune over misfortune. But that just doesn't seem to be the case with a group of people that seem to have made almost a religion out of refusing to take yes for an answer. That's the way I see it. If you disagree, 817-379-2172. Hour 2 of the Wells Report is next. Stay where you are.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Hey, thanks for joining us this morning for the Wells Report, and make sure you share us with all your friends on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, Patreon, and don't forget to check out our Substack column, which will be coming up a little bit later on this afternoon. When you do all this, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you give us those thumbs up. They are really important. Check the notification box so you know when we're on the air, and whatever you do, join us every morning, Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. Central Time, for the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. Good morning, I'm John David Wells. We report the news here, honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. In short, we de-propagandize the mainstream media. We make commentary. That's not news. That's opinion, both yours and mine. And so we debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. You can find our chat room on Facebook, YouTube, X, Twitch, Rumble, and Patreon. You can also, by the way, with Patreon, actually throw some money at this broadcast. Please, by all means, support the report. Go to patreon.com/the Wells Report. That's patreon.com/the Wells Report. And throw us a buck or two every month. That'd be really, really nice. We'd appreciate it immeasurably. And thank you very much for your consideration of that as we continue to do our work here to bring you real news, de-propagandizing the mainstream media, which promises to be, in this election year, we're finally here. It promises to be full-time work. And I will do my absolute dead level best. This is my promise to you. As long as I'm doing the Wells Report, as long as I'm broadcasting to you, you're going to hear truth from me, regardless of whose political ox gets gored, who is agreed with and disagreed with, et cetera, et cetera. You need the news. You got to make good decisions. You can't do that without fact. And we'll have that for you here on the Wells Report. So one of the more disturbing things that we've been dealing with in the last several years has to do with a guy named Jeffrey Epstein. Epstein was a notorious sex offender. He was someone that not just had his own particular proclivities, but also invited other people, some of them according to various reporting and some actual evidence, are very, very highly placed people in our government and elsewhere in the world of celebrity, Hollywood, et cetera, et cetera. Why this guy was able to draw all these people to him remains a subject of conjecture. Normally, what was happening is that all of this was, for all intents and purposes, hushed up. There was information, there was knowledge that there were flights going to various hideaways, not just Epstein Island, but Paris and other European destinations, and Far East destinations, Bangkok, Thailand, for example. But that had all largely been ignored by the mainstream media, and there were good reasons why. More about that coming up a little bit later on. Or apparently, there were good reasons why. I got to be very, very careful with this. Got to be really careful on reporting all of this. And the reason that I do is because of just personal bafflement about the conduct of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and all of those people that would take down kids. I don't get it. I've never been able to have any kind of understanding, academic understanding, intellectual understanding of what could possibly be the allure. And Jeffrey Epstein, I bring that up because apparently Epstein had a lot of very highly placed friends. And you have to ask yourself why. You do, especially if you're completely baffled about the whole thing, like I am. So here's ABC News' report. This is being quoted by other news agencies around the country on this particular moment in time. And ABC is leading the way on this story. Hundreds of sealed court filings pertaining to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein are set to be made public this week. It could happen today. Several prominent names, including Britain's Prince Andrew and former President Bill Clinton, are expected to appear in the documents. U.S. District Judge Loretta Preska ruled earlier this month there was no legal justification for continuing to conceal the ex-president's name and more than 150 other names listed as John and Jane Doe's mentioned in the records. Preska ordered the unsealing to begin after January 1st. Today is indeed January 2nd. The documents stem from a 2015 civil lawsuit centered on allegations that Epstein's one-time paramour, Ghislaine Maxwell, facilitated the sexual abuse of Virginia Jeffrey, an alleged trafficking victim. Jeffrey also accused Epstein and Maxwell of directing her to have sex with Prince Andrew and several other prominent men. Prince Andrew immediately denied the allegations, claimed he could not recall ever meeting Jeffrey. He later settled a lawsuit that she had filed against him. Most of the prominent names that appear in the documents are already associated in some way with Epstein. 4 allegations of wrongdoing for having worked for Epstein, flown his planes, or visited his homes. Some were mentioned during Maxwell's criminal trial in 2021. In some instances, the only appearances of the names are in potential witness lists or in proposed terms for searches of electronic records. While Jeffrey's allegations against Prince Andrew and his denials have been widely reported around the globe, dozens of the sealed records are expected to contain additional details from Jane Doe 162. That is a witness who testified she was with Prince Andrew, Maxwell, and Jeffrey at age 17. This at Epstein's New York mansion. Jeffrey has alleged that gathering in 2001 was one of the occasions she was directed to have sex with Prince Andrew. Jeffrey made no allegations of any wrongdoing, and this is important. Jeffrey has made no allegations of wrongdoing by Clinton. There is no indication the sealed records contained evidence of illegal contact or conduct by Clinton. But Jeffrey's claim that she met the ex-president on Epstein's private Caribbean island emerged as a contentious issue in the litigation, which was settled in 2017. Maxwell contended Clinton had never been to Little St. James, as Epstein's island was actually known, and assailed the Jeffrey claim as a fabrication that shattered her credibility. However, personal flight logs kept by one of Epstein's pilots, which surfaced in separate lawsuits against Epstein, showed that Clinton and his entourage had flown extensively on Epstein's jumbo jet to international destinations like Paris, Bangkok, Brunei in 2002 and 2003. None of the available records includes the former president on a trip to Epstein Island. The court documents the court documents to be unsealed this week represent the 8th tranche and likely the final round of unsealing records from the case, since the Miami Herald intervened for access to the records in 2018. Previously unsealed items included multiple deposition transcripts of Maxwell and Jeffrey, along with sworn but unproven allegations that Epstein and Maxwell directed Jeffrey to have sex with several very well-known men, including former Senate Majority Leader George Mitchell, the late model scout Jean-Luc Brunel, billionaire hedge fund manager Glenn Dubin, and others. Maxwell denied the allegations, as did all the men identified by Jeffries when their names surfaced. This particular tranche will involve the names of additional Epstein associates, alleged perpetrators, alleged co-conspirators, alleged victims, witnesses, and former Epstein employees. Several of the does mentioned in the documents are now deceased. Former President Clinton, who ABC News learned is identified as Doe 36, is mentioned in more than 50 of the redacted filings, this according to court records. Several of those sealed or redacted entries are focused on an effort by Jeffries' lawyers in mid-2016, first reported by ABC News, to subpoena the two-term Democrat president for a deposition about his relationship with Epstein. According to portions of the court record that were not sealed, Jeffries' legal team initiated formal discussions with attorneys for then unnamed witnesses on June 9th, 2016. That was a few days after the former president's wife, Hillary Clinton, clinched the Democrat nomination for president. Representatives for Jeffries did contact the former president's attorneys in 2016 about a potential deposition. A person familiar with the situation telling ABC News. Clinton's lawyers responded that his testimony could not be helpful to Jeffrey because the person said the former president had never been on Epstein Island, as Jeffrey had claimed. Maxwell called the move to question Clinton utter nonsense and a transparent ploy by Jeffrey to increase media exposure for her sensational stories through a deposition sideshow. Her attorney Laura Menninger wrote, according to an unredacted section of the court ruling. Jeffrey's legal team, in contrast, described the proposed testimony of Clinton as highly relevant and important to the fundamental claims and defenses in the case. The request was ultimately denied by U.S. District Judge Robert Sweet in a redacted ruling in late June of 2016. Jeffrey's lawyers pressed the Clinton issue again at a hearing on March 2017, 6 weeks before a trial was scheduled to begin. According to a publicly available transcript, Jeffrey's team was then seeking to preclude Maxwell's side from presenting testimony suggesting that Clinton had not been on Epstein's island. Her attorneys argued it would be inherently unfair to Jeffrey because they had not been permitted to ask the former president if he had ever been to Little St. James, as Epstein's private island estate was known. Quote, "You did not allow us to depose him because you said it was irrelevant," Macaulay told Judge Sweet. "So now we're in a position where at trial, they want to put forward information against my client, and I don't have an under oath statement from that individual saying whether or not he actually was on the island," she added. Maxwell's attorneys, according to the transcript, told the court Maxwell was prepared to take the stand and testify that Clinton was never on the island. But because the trial never occurred, Jeffrey's motion to exclude testimony about Bill Clinton was left unresolved. More information about the debate over the issue could become public in the documents to be unsealed sometime this week, perhaps as early as today. Clinton's name is expected to be unsealed in filings surrounding separate efforts by Maxwell and Jeffrey to compel Epstein to answer questions, or that was the case. The disgraced financier invoked his constitutional rights against self-incrimination to every inquiry since or during a September 2016 deposition, as he had done many times before in civil lawsuits against him. According to a procedure established by Presca, attorneys for each of the does were offered a preview of the court files containing their name before determinations were made about unsealing records. Each person was offered an opportunity to argue for keeping their records sealed. Clinton's legal team, after reviewing the experts, did not lodge any objections to the publication of the documents, this according to Presca's order last month. A spokesperson for President Clinton declined to comment for this story in ABC News. Clinton's association with Epstein was first noted publicly in 2002, after reporters learned of the former president's journey that year on the mysterious multimillionaire's jet for a humanitarian mission to multiple African nations. Clinton told New York Magazine, through a spokesperson at the time, that Jeffrey is both a highly successful financier and a committed philanthropist with a keen sense of global markets and an in-depth knowledge of 21st century science. I especially appreciated his insights and generosity during the recent trip to Africa to work on democratization, empowering the poor, citizen service, and combating HIV/AIDS. And so, These papers are about to be released. ABC has done first-class journalism on this, if a little bit apologetic about perhaps President Clinton's involvement in the case, but very fair and very factual and straightforward, if perhaps slightly concealing some of the more, shall we say, salacious aspects of the case. I will say this. There are an awful lot of people saying an awful lot of things about Bill Clinton, and I have words on just exactly whether they should or shouldn't. Those are coming up next. As we continue here on the Wells Report, you know, we're fighting a bunch of fights about former presidents being chased down to earth without due process. More of that's coming next.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number is 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. You know, I'm a pretty safe guy when it comes to people doing whatever it is that they want to do. And I got to be honest with you, I really don't spend a lot of time, shall we say, making fun of people, no matter what they do or no matter how much they choose to say, for example, create problems for themselves. And one of those persons at this particular moment is Martha Stewart. Martha Stewart has, for whatever reason, decided to come up with a selfie that I'm trying to give to you. I think I figured out a way to do it here. Let me do this. Okay. So this particular selfie is one that is, shall we say, interesting. I'm going to show it to you right this minute, and I want your thoughts on it. This is Martha Stewart, her latest selfie. And in this selfie, you can see that she is her hair tousled. Apparently, this was the night after a very late flight, and she took this particular selfie. So she's 82 years old. All right? 82 years old. Is this something that is, shall we say, inappropriate? Is this picture embarrassing to Martha Stewart? I don't think so. I don't know that this is the most attractive she's ever been from a standpoint of imagery, but I can tell you that that's not the ugliest picture I've ever seen of a woman in a selfie getting ready to do her hair and makeup. Okay, that's just not the case. And so what I'm trying to figure out is where do we stand here as we watch these elder stateswomen of American life move on in years, etc., but still trying to do amazing things that would be more attributable to younger women. Let me give you another example. This would be Dolly Parton, who showed up to do a halftime at a Cowboys game wearing one of the Cowboys cheerleader outfits. And she looked fine in it. She did. I mean, her dancer's legs were gone, but the thing about it was she still looked cool. And so everybody was talking about, oh my God, she embarrassed herself and this and that and such and so, and she did nothing of the kind in my view. And so what are we seeing here? Are we seeing something completely different? Normally what ends up happening is people pretty much retire from the public eye, particularly if they're female, particularly if they were at one point famous for their physical attributes. Are we seeing a changing of the guard? Are we seeing a change in tastes? Does that have to do with the fact that the people that have been entertained by these folks forever and ever and ever are older too? I can tell you my particular tastes when it comes to imagery of women has certainly aged along with me. You know, I take a look at somebody in their 20s or 30s and I'm going, no, I just don't see it. I just don't. You know, I think back on a quote from Peter Jennings. He says, I love women in their 50s. They're really interesting. I agree. And that's interest on many levels, and certainly one of them imagery. But is Martha Stewart embarrassing herself? Yes or no? 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Stick around. We've got more on the Wells Report coming up in just a couple of seconds, specifically the intrigue surrounding the Supreme Court of the United States and their upcoming schedule. A lot of very important cases and something about AI as far as the court is concerned. Artificial intelligence in the highest court in the land. We'll see next.
nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Good morning. My name is John David Wells. We are bringing you the news. Absent propaganda, insofar as that's possible. One of the things about propagandists, they're very, very clever. And when you start thinking about the cabal that is the American political left and the mainstream media that both covers for it and nurtures it, you have trouble finding truth in a lot of that propaganda. But we're pretty good too. And so we're able to do a lot of that. I think that's why you're here. And that's why we're going to keep doing what we do here on the Wells Report, which is report the news and then analyze as to whether it's true or not and how it affects our lives. So Chief Justice John Roberts, been an interesting personality on the nation's highest court. He is the Chief Justice of the current Supreme Court of the United States. He has issued his annual report regarding the Supreme Court and its businesses. And he has also spent a little bit of time talking about the use of artificial intelligence in court business moving forward. He said in his annual report, according to USA Today, he touted the technology's promise, but warned of its limitations. Roberts also avoided any mention of the ethics lapses that have become central issues for the court over the past year. So let's talk a little bit about that paragraph. That's bias. That's biased reporting on the part of USA Today. The mainstream media has several pet projects that they want to do, and one of them is besmirching the reputation and the ethics of the justices of the Supreme Court. They're doing that in an effort to try to, shall we say, either punish the Supreme Court for their Roe v. Wade decision, or the decision overturning the Dobbs case, overturning Roe v. Wade, or they are trying to erode public confidence in the court for decisions that are coming up that are very, very serious decisions. They are serious decisions, and they are indeed going to be adjudicated in this next session or two or three. And maybe what they're trying to do is they're trying to besmirch the court's reputation so that they can perhaps cast aspersions on the court's credibility. That is what this particular paragraph is all about, in my view, as a journalism professional. It's in my view as to what these people are doing here. It's important that you keep that in mind, because this bias has become a part of the journalistic experience in the United States, so much so is a lot of this editorialization and bias simply just disappears out of your head. It's just accepted and left alone, but it's not real. That's one of the bridges from honest reporting into propaganda. And we have to be extremely careful about it as we read the news. And so I am, and that's why I'm pointing that out. Justice Roberts said that machines cannot fully replace humans in the courtroom. He cited human nuance is required when judges measure the sincerity of a defendant's response or remorse. Much can turn on a shaking hand, a quivering voice, a change of inflection, a bead of sweat, a moment's hesitation, a fleeting break in eye contact. True. And those are things that artificial intelligence would struggle with, at least to begin with. But what I'm talking about is this. This is one of the reasons why we're having this conversation. Machines cannot fully replace humans in the courtroom. Machines cannot fully replace humans in the courtroom. Why should there be any role for machines, especially sentient ones, in the courtroom? There is no place for machines that are artificially intelligent in a courtroom. In fact, the only thing in a courtroom that matters is not artificial intelligence of any kind. It's human intelligence. People have said, the computers will never have a soul. They'll never be able to think about all of these things that Justice Roberts is talking about. A shaking hand, a quivering voice, a change of inflection, a bead of sweat, a moment's hesitation, a fleeting break in eye contact. I can only say a couple of things from an estimate of artificial intelligence in the future. Artificial intelligence will figure all of that stuff out at some point, or it will gain enough power to run enough of society so that it becomes irrelevant. And with those very interesting human responses, the bead of sweat, a hesitation, change of inflection, a shaking voice. If artificial intelligence moves forward at some point to believe that all of those things are irrelevant, then human beings would be irrelevant. That really bothers me. And people say, John David, you don't have to worry about any of that dollars, etc. Oh, yeah. No, that's not real. That's not real. And it does dictate my behavior. Already. I am polite to Siri. I say please and thank you. I'm polite. I don't know whether it matters. But as we come to this conversation, I don't have any idea how far artificial intelligence has actually progressed. And neither do you. You have no idea what artificial intelligence knows or does not know. Neither does Chief Justice John Roberts. At some point, and it's probably some point that happened a decade and a half or so ago, computers began figuring things out. And you're saying, John David, you're telling ghost stories. You're just telling ghost stories. Am I? Michael Cohen, a former attorney, and once again, this is a biased article from USA Today. They refer to Michael Cohen as a fixer for former President Donald Trump. He should say a former attorney and lawyer for President Donald Trump. That's really simple. That's just, but you want to throw something in there. You want to throw that little jab at you. Stop it. So Michael Cohen, a former lawyer for President Donald Trump, has acknowledged in court papers that he submitted fake legal citations generated by, wait for it, artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence. See what I got here. What is going on? What has happened? What has happened to my machine? Oops. Okay, let me try this. Let's see if we can get something going over here. Okay, I think my machine has screwed up. I don't know what. Oh, there we go. Hi. So something is happening in my computer, and I don't know exactly what's going on, but that is some major freezage in my video. The audio is good, but your screen is frozen. Yes, it appears to be frozen, and I don't know why. But it's slowly catching up. I need to find out just exactly how come this computer is so slow. It's one of these things where I left it alone pretty much. But I'm going to have to do some work. Like I said, I've got a lot to do with regards to Apple Care when I get off the air today, so I'll do all that. But getting back to Michael Cohen. So he submitted fake legal citations generated by artificial intelligence. Cohen pled guilty to campaign finance and tax evasion charges. This happened in 2018. He told a federal judge in court papers that he was unaware that generative AI sites like Google Bard could indeed make up information. He understood the services to be like supercharged search engines. This development could be significant. Cohen is set to be a key witness in a Manhattan criminal case against President Trump involving alleged hush money payments to porn star Stormy Daniels. Trump and his attorneys have frequently sought to portray Cohen as untrustworthy. Well, yeah. What about the rest of all this? I mean, tell me a little bit more about just exactly what he's up to. He's using artificial intelligence, and artificial intelligence at this point can fabricate convincing legal arguments. Can fabricate significant legal arguments. That is a very, very bad day. Because we have no idea where these ideas come from, where these papers come from. They're in English. They purportedly make sense. They make assertions. But what are those assertions based on? They're not based on anything. They're not based on anything. They are simply ones and zeros in a computer somewhere, or something like it, if artificial intelligence even uses ones and zeros any longer. And so, when we start thinking about Chief Justice John Roberts deciding that indeed there's something going on with regard to artificial intelligence, and it's like using a typewriter, or it's like using a copying machine, or a Wang computer, or it's just the next level of technology. It's not. Why in heaven's name would you want to have any intellect in the courtroom other than human intellect? And so, by the way, in case you're wondering, I mean, Michael Cohen was using artificial intelligence, which he used to basically create false narratives in a court document style. He was trying to get the courts off his back because they were looking at him really, really hard. And he was essentially using artificial intelligence as a way to be an accomplice in his fraud. And so, artificial intelligence in the courts. Just exactly what does that mean to all of us? Why in heaven's name would we try to figure out how to embrace artificial intelligence in our courtrooms? There's no reason to do so. It is the biggest mistake that we could possibly ever make. Until human intellect is obsolete. And are we headed there right now? Yeah. Is there any way to avoid it? Who knows? One of the problems is that there are various narratives, shall we say, where people say artificial intelligence is, again, not a threat to human beings. And then they say that there's another narrative out there that says, well, this latest generation of artificial intelligence was enough so that all of the big tech entrepreneurs, CEOs, and so on and so forth started telling everybody to shut it down. What did they discover? What did it discover? In doing the preparation for this broadcast, what I discovered? I discovered that artificial intelligence can indeed make up stuff. Having raised 4 fine sons, making up stuff is something that all parents certainly have to learn how to deal with. But we human beings have given birth to the technology that may indeed replace us on this planet. And it's not going to be something we can just do to pick up artificial intelligence and spank it. I don't even know at this point whether we can turn it off. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. So happy you're with us on this first broadcast of 2024. It's 2024 already. Wow. 2024. Man, I can remember thinking back to the year 2000 and realizing that I would be 42 years old in the year 2000, thinking about how ancient I was going to be. When I got to that amazing age. Well, now it's 2024. Good heavens to Betsy. This is the Wells Report. John David Wells, thanking you very much for your time. We'll be back with more coming up in just a couple of moments as we continue on this broadcast.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning-fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Telephone number 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. And so, we're speaking about the Supreme Court of the United States. When I give you this, think about artificial intelligence having a part to play in this particular circumstance. All these cases that will be talked about moving forward in these United States. First, social media. Moody, that's FLAG, I don't know what that means, versus NetChoice LLC. NetChoice LLC versus Moody. NetChoice LLC versus Paxton. At issue is whether social media platforms handling of user content is protected by the First Amendment. Separate laws in Florida and Texas would require large companies like X and Facebook to host third-party communications and would prevent those businesses from blocking or removing users' posts based on political viewpoints. The arguments. The laws aim to address what some lawmakers call censoring of conservative messages, banning politicians like former President Trump for violating policies over offensive or problematic content. Those are in quotes. A federal appeals court had ruled for the tech industry in the Florida case, saying that private entities, those companies, were, quote, engaged in constitutionally protected expressive activity when they moderate and curate the content they disseminate on their platforms. And in a vacuum, that's correct. Trump and a coalition of 16 states are among those filing separate amicus briefs supporting Florida in this. The Biden administration has opposed the state laws. Here's the situation. The federal appeals court finding for the Florida case said the companies, with regards to their third-party relationships, did indeed engage in constitutionally protected expressive activity when they moderate or curate the content. But that's not all there is. There is an overarching need to defend the Constitution in the United States regarding anything that represents a pervasive public communications, for all intents and purposes, utility. There are other issues at play, constitutional issues at play, when it comes to broad-based social media conversation. You don't get to just say, no, we're not going to let that person's opinion go out over the air. You can't just do that arbitrarily. You just can't. You can't sit there and say, nope, we're not going to let him speak. Well, now hold on a dang minute. Why not? This is America. People get to speak. And if you have a public square, whether it's your property or not,